So welcome to week 2 of the Carling Meet the Legends. Last week, beginning of it all, we were at the Oval. We had a great time. The fans enjoyed it, and I know the legends, Billy Caskey and Jim Cleary, they enjoyed it as well. Tonight we're at Distillery. They're not in a great situation this season, but they have a nice little history to look back on. We have 4 people we'll be talking to. A new player, but he's in his 40th year, would you believe? He scored something like 600 career goals. That's Glenn Ferguson. We have a man who won 31 Northern Ireland caps. He's the distillery manager, Tommy Wright. We also have a man who's in his 9th season. He'll be getting a testimonial next year. That's the goalkeeper, Philip Matthews. And last but by no means least, a man who made his debut for Distillery 50 years ago. Yeah, August 1959, a true legend. He won a league championship. He was also here as a manager. He was manager of the year 1984. True legend, as I said. He is Mr. Roy Welsh. We are looking forward to it. Enjoy. How big a gunk was it when the manager of Ards said, you're not going to make it, kid, on your bike? Did you feel like packing it in at all? Or?
No, because I always had the desire to try and do well. But it's one of those things, when you're told you're not wanted at a club or, you're not in the manager's plans, you just got to move on, and get over the disappointment and try and work a bit harder to get in somewhere else. And that's what I done. I didn't give up and go and hit the drink or go on the glue like some of the rest of them. I just
there must be a line there somewhere. I'll just let that one slip past. You signed for this club, what, 2001?
2001, yeah, from Glenavon.
Yeah. And what are your thoughts of Distillery over all that time?
I've been here sort of 9 years and I've loved the club. I've had other offers from other clubs, but sort of I got into the club and I liked the club and I liked the backroom staff and I liked the supporters, and it's just one of those ones I thought I'd just see the long sort of 10, 8 years or whatever, but just run on now, so I'm really enjoying it.
I'd like to ask everybody in the panel, is it Distillery to you or Lisburn Distillery?
Is it Distillery or Lisburn Distillery? May I just have my tuppence worth? It will always be Distillery to me. But I don't know whether people here at the club get upset if it's not called Lisburn Distillery, but it was the Whites, it was Distillery. Roy?
Oh, I would be Distillery.
Yeah, I'd be Distillery too.
At first, when I come here, at first they were canvassing for a name, and I said you lose all touch if you change it, and they did go ahead and change it to Lisburn Distillery. But I think it's always been known as Distillery.
Yeah, Distillery probably for me too.
Yeah, the same, Distillery or the Whites. I think it's hard to change something. I think Newry City as well, it doesn't have the same ring,
I would agree with the rest of the like if I was at Ballymena, I wouldn't say we're playing Lisburn Distillery on Saturday. It would have been we're at the Whites on Saturday, or we're playing Distillery. But it's happened. But I think most people just know them as the Whites and Distillery.
Tommy Wright, what do you think of Distillery so far? And will you be staying on if we get relegated to bring us back to the Premier League? Well, I already know the answer, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, we're not going to get relegated, but yes, I'll stay on if something drastically went wrong. It's a club that really, since I've been here, has emphasised what I thought of. It's a family club, very close-knit club, and they've made me very, very, very welcome. I think to look long-term, we've got to get out of the immediate trouble we're in. But long-term is to get the club back, to be a top 6 club, top 4 club. challenge for getting to semi-finals, cup finals, and challenge that's long term. But just our own players as well, what I think is going to be important. Because there's a credit crunch out there, and clubs, Irish League clubs, are finding it tight. So I did the same at Ballymena. Looked at the youth structure, reserve structure as well. Get young players in, and try and get young players through to the first team, and get them to have an affinity with the club as well. But my long-term plans will be determined on how we do from now to the end of the season.
Okay, this is to Roy. Roy, as a true Distillery legend, what gave you more pleasure, winning trophies as a player or winning a trophy as a manager at this club on a shoestring budget?
Winning anything as a player is always better than as a manager. But the one trophy we did win, there was no money to buy players in those days, and with a lot of youngsters, that was probably the best time for me as a manager. The second time I come back, and we introduced a lot of youngsters. In fact, there was about 5 from that young team ended up in the international squads playing. So for as a personal winning as a player is the one you would remember most. The first time when Jimmy McAlinden left, I was the manager and with no ground. And I'm managing an Irish League team, and I'm nowhere to train. And I was training at the roundabout at the House of Sport, and the police come and ordered me off. So it don't get any worse than that. That is gospel.
Phil Matthews, who is the most famous person you have played with or played against?
Probably the man beside me. He's probably scored 100 goals out of his 500 past me. No, sort of Spike. When I was at Glenavon, there was a good team. Lee Docherty, Alan Dornan, Spears, but probably all when we Glenn Ferguson. Used to hate going out playing the Blues when Spike was up front. He kept him out for 75 minutes, and then he always popped up the back post with a header. Nobody picking him up, but probably, as Jackie says, he's a legend. He's good to play with and good to play against.
This is the Roy. Just want to know what's it like playing for the Whites and winning obviously the league. He's probably sitting there beside you.
Well,
1962-3.
Yeah. Probably the biggest difference I see when I see highlights of the Irish League is the crowds. I don't know if you've seen the DVD of that particular game. There was supposed to be about 20,000 at the match. So if you put one of today's games with 20,000, you could appreciate the atmosphere. But we had played Linfield in the Cup. We were to do the double we were going for the double and beat us 2-1. And that was the last match of the year. So not only winning the league, that particular game, everything hinged on it. If it would have been beaten, Linfield would have won the league, and there would have been one of the matches that would be the match I would remember. Yeah.